I used to think that becoming successful was only based on luck, winning the lottery, inheriting a fortune, or finding buried treasure. But what I've learned over the past few years is what makes a difference in whether you succeed or fail is this.
Now honestly, I've only recently come across this concept, but when I read it, I felt seen because I've been doing these things for years, and it's what's allowed me to quit my job, own my own business, travel the world, and live life on my own terms.
Most people want radical success right now, today, ASAP. But when you take a step back and look at what determines who succeeds or fails, you'll see it's determined by the little actions and choices we make that transform us every single day. From what time you wake up, how often you rewatch The Office, to whether you decide to get 1% better or 1% worse at something each day. It's these little actions that compound over time that lead to habits, and these habits define your life. Habits determine what you care about, what you focus on, and ultimately how successful you'll become. Habits are the difference between an eating chips on the couch lifestyle and one where you can comfortably travel the world. The difference between achieving financial success and just wanting it. You either take control of your habits or they take control of you. So how do you actually effectively build habits? When you break it down, there are really just 5 stages to the Billionaire Algorithm to help you master your habits. And once you start to identify these stages at their core, you can finally remember to floss. You're welcome, dentist. The first stage is noticing. So I was always one of the skinniest kids in my class. I entered high school looking like a pile of bones, and 4 years later, for my first year of college, I pretty much looked the same. I was scrawny, had no confidence, and felt like a loser. All the way since high school, I probably subconsciously knew the reason that I felt this type of way was because of how I looked. But for some reason, for me, mentally connecting my scrawniness and having no confidence never clicked, even if it was obvious. In psychology, they call it inattentional blindness. Basically, this says we tend to miss things that happen in plain sight. Psychologist Daniel Simons ran an experiment and showed participants this video test, and 50% of them failed. Participants were asked to count the number of passes made by a basketball team. Give it a try. The answer is 13, but participants completely missed the gorilla walking in the background because they were too focused on counting. Our lives can be consumed by distractions that prevent us from focusing on the right things. TikTok notifications, urgent work emails, or the urge to staple paper. The problem is you can't master a habit or take action if you don't know what needs to be changed. Like, I need to see these headphones sitting on the table in order to pick it up, but if I'm not aware it exists, I can't do anything about it. What I found really helpful is doing end-of-month reflections to evaluate certain moments where I might feel trapped, unmotivated, or just down. Psychologists call this priming. Basically, it's when you expose yourself to one thing to get a mental response from another. So sit down, reflect, and prime your brain to actively search for what's bothering you. When you come across an issue, think of it like the leaves on a tree. As you try to understand what's causing the problem, you go further down the tree, into the branches, the trunk, and eventually the roots to identify the cause. By the way, if you want to build a wealthier and healthier life, sign up for my free weekly newsletter, Rethinkable, link below. Believe it or not understanding how to want correctly might be the thing holding you back. And this is stage 2, subconscious wanting. When it comes to wanting to do something, there are actually 2 different types, your conscious and subconscious desires. If you actively think to yourself, I want to cuddle Mr. Magic Lamp, you're making the decision to do that. Psychologist Freud defines this as the conscious mind. It's where all the mental processes that you're aware of happen. When you decide to wear sunglasses in a Zoom meeting, order pineapple pizza, or hit that like button. Thanks, by the way. On the other hand, if you normally hate to work out, but then suddenly feel the urge to exercise after watching a movie scene with a buff dude doing something cool, that's your subconscious mind at work. Your subconscious mind will urge you to take action without needing your conscious mind to prompt the thought. Like when you suddenly feel super creative at a museum, flashback to when you stubbed your toe, or get hungry when you start cooking. The better you get at controlling your mind to subconsciously urge you to do things, the easier forming habits become.
This is why I always try to keep my office organized and make my computer the main focus of the room. Once you walk in, the first thing you notice is the desk with this couch and chair facing it. This layout subconsciously encourages me to work and be more productive.
Traditionally, in most living rooms, people position their couches to face the TV. Naturally, this room design subconsciously urges us to do just that, jump on our comfy couch and watch TV for hours. Our desires are heavily shaped by our environment, which means always relying on our willpower and self-control can be challenging. It's much easier to stick with better habits when we're surrounded by better options. If you want to use your phone less, put it in a drawer in a different room. If you want to read more, put your book on top of your pillow. If you want to work out more, wear fresh gym clothes to bed. Stage 3 is doing. You know when you've got 30 things to do, and each thing is yelling at you to be done, and you don't even know where to begin, so you just don't do any of them? Normally, this happens when the distance between your current stage and your goal stage is too far apart. It feels so far away, and that it requires a lot of work, so you can't even begin to think how to start. But the solution is pretty easy. Think about any goal you want to achieve as an endpoint along a journey of small repetitions. The bigger the goal, the more reps you need to do. The smaller, the fewer. In a 2019 study, research found that people who approached their goals as a journey rather than a destination were more likely to sustain their learned behaviors, even after reaching their initial objectives. And this is similar to what I experienced when I started making videos. So after I made 10 videos, I had 200 subscribers. After 20 videos, 1,000. After 50 videos, hundreds of thousands, and so on. And every single rep that I put in each video was something that was moving me closer to my goal on that journey. But when it comes to doing, the hardest part might just be starting. You might be too terrified to begin because you're scared of failing, of being judged, of not living up to our own expectations or others, of discomfort or not knowing what to do next. While we might comprehend logically that these aren't real threats, they still might trigger the fight or flight response. So we avoid tasks like their 1-month-old leftovers in the fridge. Starting to think of your habits as a doorway to a larger routine will change this. Typically, when we think about habits and goals, we focus on the end goal. How much money we want to earn, how many books we want to read, or how shiny my teeth are going to be. However, if you focus more on the starting point and make it effortless to begin, consistency will come and a desired goal will follow. Alright, but the reality is, the only way we can consistently do the reps long term is if we enjoy doing them. Which brings us to stage 4, liking. The problem with forming good habits is that the reward is usually delayed, while the cost is immediate. Going to the gym takes up time and energy now, but the reward of being healthy only becomes noticeable weeks later. Forming bad habits is the opposite. Eating pineapple pizza provides an immediate reward. It's delicious. However, the cost of being unhealthy doesn't show up until weeks later, unless you're lactose intolerant like me. Naturally, our brains crave immediate rewards over delayed gratification. And in a world engulfed by flashy commercials, constant notifications, and delicious pineapple pizza, trying to fight against our impulses can feel like hiking uphill for 3 hours. But there's a trick for this. Instead of going to war with our brain's preference for instant gratification, we can use it to our advantage. In psychology, they call it temptation bundling. Basically, it's when you combine an activity that has a delayed reward, such as exercising, with an activity that provides immediate satisfaction, like watching TV. I remember in college I was completely addicted to Breaking Bad. A new season just came out and I couldn't wait to watch it. But I also haven't been going to the gym in weeks because of exams. So I made a deal with myself. I could only watch Breaking Bad while working out. And surprisingly, this changed everything. I started looking forward to my workouts because I needed to find out if Hank Schrader was gonna catch on to Walter White or was Jesse Pinkman gonna save the day. When it comes to temptation bundling, it's not only limited to exercising. You can listen to your favorite music only when you work on your side hustle, or treat yourself to a dessert after you finish a book. It may seem counterintuitive, but when you shift your focus from long-term benefits to making habits immediately more enjoyable, you'll be able to form the habits much easier. But what if you mess up? You started that new reading routine. You got through day 1 just fine. Day 2, no problem. Day 10, check. And then at some point, at day 15, you'd stop. Your streak was cut off short by a big work project, a big party, or you just didn't feel like doing it. That's just part of the process. We are always going to be failing. We're always going to be falling short when we're attempting to do things that are a little bit challenging, like forming habits. One thing that helped me was the simple idea of never miss twice. You might have forgotten to read on day 15, but think of that slip up as an outlier. It's okay, accept it. But don't slip up the second time on day 16, because at that point, it becomes a pattern. Even if you stumble every so often, getting back on track 50% of the time can lead to change. Bit by bit, action by action. It's the cumulative impact of repeated actions that shape how we perceive ourselves. Each action you take is a step closer to the person you want to be. The more steps you take, the greater your chance of becoming that person. It's not getting it right every time. It's about shaping our perception, our belief, to support the identity we want. Real transformation isn't about forcing your behaviors to change or only focusing on results. It's about changing your identity. Your goal isn't to just start a side hustle or draw a picture. It's to become a business owner or an artist. Playing an instrument isn't just about the performance. It's about becoming a musician. Crafting your identity starts with taking consistent action. When you exercise, you are an athlete. When you write, you are a writer. When you read, you are a reader. Our habits shape our identity. They mold our sense of perception and beliefs. By building our habits, we can change our lives and become successful. And it all starts with the little actions and choices you make today. And that leads me to something that you've got to start accepting. And it's that even if you really want to become successful, sometimes you're just focusing on the wrong thing. And that might be because you're following your passion. Click here to learn why following your passion is terrible advice and what you should do instead.